To learn, sometimes we must unlearn first. I was once traveling for work and I stood on the Great Wall of China, and I was struck by the irony. You see, what was once built to repel foreign invaders is now the very thing that draws in millions of international tourists every year. You see, breakthroughs often happen when we're able to take something familiar and look at it through a new lens. But that experience made me question, what else have we stopped questioning? So today, I'm going to dispel 3 myths that act like walls blocking you from your calling. And I'll replace them with truths that I believe will bridge you to the meaning, purpose, and significance that we all long for. Okay, how many of you have ever said to a small child, you can be anything you want to be? Yeah, I have too. It actually sounds so empowering. There's just one problem. It's not true. Take me. I could never be the window washer on the outside of a skyscraper, or that person that climbs up those really tall radio towers just to change that blinking light on top. My stomach does flip-flops just looking at people working that high up. But here's the danger. When people realize they can't do everything, some people go to the opposite extreme and think, I must not be gifted at all. Sound familiar? Well, I think that'd kind of be like shopping and making a list of everything you don't want. How would that work? Let's see. No sardines today. Stay away from the rutabagas. Definitely don't need any frozen waffles. Nah, it's crazy. You wouldn't do that. You'd get confused and you'd probably leave forgetting the items you went there for in the first place. And yet, that's how many of us think about our gifts. We fixate on what we lack. How many of you have ever caught yourself comparing one of your weaknesses to someone else's strength? Yeah. But that's a lot like shopping. It's not about what's not on your list, it's about what is. You'll never find your calling peeking at the items in somebody else's cart. But if you're able to look past those limitations, I believe you may find they were blocking your view of the greatness that's inside each and every one of us. Take Jim Abbott, for example. Jim was born without a right hand and felt sorry for himself. But it wasn't until he focused on what he did have, a powerful left arm and hand, that he became a Major League Baseball pitcher, even pitching a no-hitter. I've found it transformative in my leadership roles to start development conversations focusing on people's strengths, not their weaknesses. Because what I've learned is people want to be seen, not fixed. So, the truth about myth number 1, you can't be everything, but you can be what you were called and created to be. Now that we've given up the need to, or the pressure to try to be everything, one question emerges. Where does our calling show up? For many people, that's a job. And that leads us to myth number 2. Your calling is all about your job. McKinsey & Company is a global management firm. They found that 70% of people tie their sense of purpose to accomplishments at work. And yet, 70% of those people tying that there, over half of the people in the high-level roles were thinking of quitting their position for better well-being. Take actor Jim Carrey, making $20 million per movie, once said, I wish everybody could get rich and famous and everything they ever dreamed of so they could see that that's not the answer. Now, some of you may still be in school and are thinking, that's job stuff, that's for later. But that habit of needing to prove your worth doesn't start with your first paycheck. It starts with grades, with that need to achieve more, ever more. You see, there's a difference between being driven and being called. Being driven is about proving something, and it's never satisfied. Being called though, is about expressing your purpose. And I believe that's energizing. I lived that tension myself. Earlier in my career, I had an opportunity to move my family to South Africa, start a marketing department, develop the local talent. We spent 4 wonderful years there. My values and my work were aligned. My family was with me. Later, after we returned to the US, I actually got the promotion I'd worked my entire career for, supporting teams and organizations across Latin America, Africa, and Asia. I should have been thrilled. But in actuality, I was burning out, traveling internationally up to 3 weeks at a time, away from the ones I loved most. It was then that I realized my calling had to be more than just my job. You see, we talk endlessly about work-life balance, even before many of you have a full-time job. And yet balance means competition. One role must take from another role. If work wins, life loses. If life wins, work loses. But you see, balance is what a tightrope walker does. Think about that. Constantly correcting, never resting, always just one misstep away from disaster. How many of you feel like you're on that tightrope right now? Even if your rope looks like grades or expectations or decisions about the future. What I've learned is we don't need balance, we need alignment. Alignment means I don't have to park my Sunday morning values when I go to work on Monday. I don't have to park my professional skills when I return home to my family. You see, I want my calling to weave an authentic storyline through all the roles in my life, at home, as a friend, in my community. Now, you may have a title next to your name, or for some of you, someday you will, but that doesn't equal the sum of your identity. Your calling is bigger than any single one area in your life. So the truth about myth number 2, your calling is supposed to weave a thread through all your roles. And when you find that alignment, you stop living fragmented and start living whole. So, now that we've quit shrinking our calling to a job title, one thing becomes clear. It's not just about what we do, our calling is about who it's for. Now, I believe I have a creator beyond my parents. The word calling denotes someone who calls. So your purpose comes from the one who created you and your gifts. In the Bible, the 2 great commandments are to love the Lord and to love others. So those are shared by all of us. Now, I realize some of you may not share my faith, but I do believe that across traditions and across philosophies, one idea is consistent. We weren't meant to live only for ourselves. Okay. Consider this image. The statue Self-Made Man by artist Bobby Carlyle. It's a wonderful metaphor for self-development. A man chiseling himself out of stone. But look closer. Self-made man has a belly button. Guess what? So do you. Okay. You were not self-made. Someone else birthed you, fed you, clothed you, gave you opportunities, and that help you received, no matter how difficult your path, helped you get at least part of the way to where you are today. Now, reflect for a moment. See if you can picture in your mind's eye who's someone who gave you an opportunity you couldn't have created for yourselves. Yeah. We all have someone, probably several. A Harvard study on happiness found that the number 1 key to longevity and happiness in life is actually the quality of our relationships. See, I believe you will never find your calling just looking inward forever, because we were meant to be part of a community. Now, I actually like to think of calling like a big jigsaw puzzle. We were called to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And each of us is a unique piece with a unique shape for fit. If one piece doesn't show up, that picture is not complete. Not because that piece was unimportant, but because it was irreplaceable. Now, you may be thinking, Jeff, my piece is too small to matter, but I ask you this. Have you ever tried to sleep one night in a tent with a mosquito? I think podcaster Lewis Howes said it best. He said, you are enough and you are becoming more. Let's revisit that. You're enough to start and you're becoming more as you step into your calling. Consider for a moment the giant sequoia tree, General Sherman. By volume, the largest tree in the world. It's over 275 feet tall, over 100 feet around at its base, and yet it got its start as a seed no larger than a flake of oatmeal. Never be embarrassed by your humble beginnings on your path to igniting and unleashing that greatness that you have inside. So, myth number 3, that it's all about you. No, your calling was never meant to end with you. You were called to be part of a bigger picture, but that picture is not complete without you and your gifts. Now, I'm still on this journey myself, but I've stepped off of that tightrope. We don't need better balance. We need better alignment. Alignment that connects our Sunday with our Monday, that connects our home and our work, and more importantly, that connects you to those who need what only you can give. So, as you respond to your calling, remember you have greatness inside. But just like that tree that started from that small seed, never compare your first chapter to someone else's finished work. Thank you.